Hi, we're back for episode 2 of our Community Media Day podcast presentation outside of 70 Main Street in North Andover in front of the CAM Studios. And right now I have Brian Howard from the Historical Society, who seems to be my new partner in crime as we spend a ton of time together, or at least crossing paths a lot lately. Brian, welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is actually my first podcast in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts, that sounds like you're a pro, because this is my first time on this side of the mic, especially on a podcast.
It's been a while.
Pointers as we go along.
All right.
So just a brief snapshot. This is Community Media Day. We're kind of reflecting on what community media means to the public and some of the organizations that North Andover CAM is involved with. And if if you've been involved with other organizations and dealt with community media, please let us, kind of give us some insight there too.
Sure.
So we're here. You're the new director here in town for the Historical Society.
Yeah.
And give us a little snapshot of what you guys got going on.
Okay. The Historical Society, we've been around since 1913, but we had our previous director, Carol Machahad, had been there for 31 years. So I am the first new director there since the late 1980s. I started in January of 2020, about 8 weeks before the world shut down. So we're on.
Makes the job fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, tell me about it. So I still feel. I mean, here I am, almost 2 years in, but it still feels like I'm new to the town. I'm meeting people. I'm starting to see things happening, in particular on the Common, right across the street from the Historical Society, that are longtime community events, but that I had no exposure to. As a result of the shutdown last year. So it's been a little surreal, but very interesting, and it's been very encouraging to get to know people around here and see the resources in town, and in particular NACAM and all the work that you've been doing for us to help to promote our mission, our activities, the Stevens Center project, the public programming, all the kinds of things that we're trying to bring to the community. We need that voice, that friend out there to help us spread the word, and you've been that for us, and I sincerely appreciate it.
I tell you, I mean, out of all the organizations I've come across and been involved with, I have to say the movie theater at the new building has to be one of the most exciting things I've gotten North Andover CAM involved in.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting, it's new, it's different. I mean, I don't know a community that has anything like that, and I think there's a lot of potential partnership there, and it's exciting.
Well, it's been made pretty clear over the last year and a half just how much this community has been looking for something. Kind of like you're looking for something, but you never really realize that until it's presented to you. And time and again, I've had people come in on building tours and say, man, I just can't believe that, here we are in North Andover. Now we have this cutting-edge theater where we can do movies and video screenings and presentations. And, it expands the Historical Society's capability dramatically. We were able to accommodate maybe 1.5 to 24 people comfortably in our Johnson Cottage facilities, but here in the theater and the Stevens Center, the former Textile Museum, for anyone who might refer to it as that 800 Mass Ave, here we can accommodate 3 to 4 times the number of people, and we can expand our capabilities so that if we have school board debates or select board debates, subject matter experts coming in from all over the region, movie nights, documentaries, the performing arts, all of those types of activities that we would have been able to do on a very come again, Karen?
Poetry readings.
Poetry readings as well, yes. All of those types of activities that we either would have been able to do on a much smaller scale or not do at all. We now have that capability in our hands, and to be able to bring that benefit to the community, it's much more than just the for the historical society's benefit. It's for anybody and everybody who lives in or visits or passes through this town. We want to be that community resource, much like any CAM has been to the region, and I think we're there, and it's with your help. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it was kind of a, an aligning of stars. Really, the pandemic, changed everybody, and I've explained on this podcast already. We have our funding comes from everybody's cable bills. The pandemic didn't slow that down because nobody was cutting services. They needed their bundles, their internet, their cable TV, and that's where our North Andover CAM's funding comes from. But when the pandemic shut everything else down, it actually slowed a lot of our services. Mm-hmm. So we were just fortunate that your project was coming up, and in the kind of it just kind of aligned because it freed up a lot of our typical budget money where we weren't traveling to workshops or events across the country where we'd have to send staff, or we weren't feeding volunteers all year long. Those are all budget items that we burn through every year.
Sure.
And so we were, I have a very supportive board, and we talked about the way it kind of mixed with our mission. It's a movie theater where we could keep it within our mission, and have screenings there or televise events there, and with the proper infrastructure in place, it matched our mission. So we were able to, again, return our funding right back into the community, and that's the one mission, with community television, whether it's North Andover or any of the other communities, it's the residents have already, in one fashion or another, paid for us, and supported us. So whatever these stations can do to give right back to the community, and this was just a fortunate blessing that it came out of nowhere. And it was like, wow, this is a huge thing. And I know you have a lot of donors, and there's a lot of people contributing over there, but the fact that we could put our footprint in over there with the technology and the media end of it, and the network, because for years we've always wanted to partner with the Historical Society on the way we would get our live signal from the Common out to the viewers.
Sure.
And that was the immediate way we could do it, because you're right there on the Common. Yeah. But in prior years, the internet service wasn't there, and it was very slow and whatnot. So we actually had to ricochet it from your property at the Historical Society up the street to the Station 2 fire station up the street. Which is fine. It's a little miracle, and we perform those miracles sometimes. But now, with the new infrastructure in place, we were able to help with the technology there. Yeah. You upgraded your services, and now now it's a cleaner. It's about an hour's less of my day when the 4th of July ceremonies or sheep shearing or any of the events at the Common happen. Just because we don't have to bother the fire department, and make sure that they're up at 6 in the morning, or they're not on a call. So it's a lot more manageable of a partnership with the internet. So I think that's a great opportunity.
Well, the shutdown really, I mean, like I said a few minutes ago, I got here about 8 weeks before the world shut down, and coming into this town and into this project, and with all of the skills that I've had running historical societies and history museums over the years, suddenly that was all off the table. Our ability to get out to the public and do on-site programming. I mean, we are reliant upon visitor traffic. How could we, in this new environment, how could we possibly continue to get the word out and talk about everything that we're trying to do for the community, because that's our lifeblood. So that's where the partnerships, in particular with CAM and with other community organizations that were in the same boat, really came in to help us get through and reassess, what types of benefits can we bring to the community? How can we continue to get our word out? So, nobody would have wished,
Correct.
the last year and a half on the world.
Right.
But what it showed was that this organization, this town, we are resilient, and we have the capability to pool our resources together to continue to enhance the quality of life in the area
and bring the community together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it's all about.
It's fantastic. The Historical Society in CAM or community television in general, any historical society has a natural partnership because we teach people the craft, how to videotape things, how to put a program together. But a lot of times, whether it's youth or adults or retirees, like, that's great, but what do we do with it?
Yeah.
And now the Historical Society has all the content.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
now, I mean, to me, that's just a natural marriage. So I think, we talked about this the other night when we were working on another project, but it's a no-brainer. We just got to get together and put more content out there and figure out internships that help produce the, because you have so much to share over there. And I just think it's a natural partnership.
Well, that's our big strength, is the ability to provide content. And I think I'm in the minority of people who've just always had an innate interest in history. And I recognize that that's a very small part of the general population, the people that just love history for history's sake. And what we've needed to do is to get people to realize that even if they don't think that they're interested in history, that our organization has a lot to offer for this whole area. And the content is where it's at. We have people that have come in, they've just bought a house, for example, in town, and they want to research the property. We can do that. We've had authors who have, they've written books about, the Salem witch trials and Andover's deep involvement in that. Our agricultural and industrial stories, all of those types of things that influence this town's identity, how we define ourselves, how people see this region, all of that type of soft stuff. That's right in our wheelhouse. And to be able to have a facility where we can now do a lot more than we were ever able to do before, and to have the technological support that you provide and have the facilities there is, the future is very, very bright for us as a result.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. So connecting the dots with us a little bit. So you have similar, not problems, but like the same concerns come up with you guys. People think we're part of the town.
Oh yeah. Yep.
You're North Andover Historical Society,
All
so
the time.
people think you're a town department, just
All
like they
the
think
time.
that we are. We are not town department. We're an independent nonprofit 501c3. Bri?
Yeah. Well,
And-
yeah,
and are you
we
guys-
are a private 501c3,
Yep.
and we do not receive any town funding for operating support.
Correct.
We have been the beneficiaries of Community Preservation Act funding, just like a lot of other not-for-profits in the area.
Yep.
But as far as keeping the lights on and the doors open, keeping our staff, including myself, paid,
Yep.
that calls for operating support, and we generate all of that, and also this capital project. All of this is through private investment. Individuals, corporations, other entities that see the value in the Historical Society and want to make an investment in it because it underscores the quality of life in this region.
Right.
But as far as
Right. We can't vote for the union rep for the
Yeah.
town employees. So
Yeah.
I've been asked that before. Can you
Yeah.
vote for? I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So we're not funded. We're not a town funded department. The only hybrid part of it is the town brokers the negotiations between the cable company and the town, and then we're a third party through federal mandate of the right to provide services over the public way. The cable companies are then federally mandated. So the town chooses to provide at least up to 5% of their gross annual revenue to this type of service.
Sure.
So that's why we people are always excited about how we reach out and do things, but I feel like it's North Andover CAM's obligation to return right back to the community the value that they put into it. Yeah. So then the other dot to connect is that we share the similar thing, complication with is you're a member organization, right? So I quite often get calls that say, hey, can you guys cover this event, or can you videotape this, or wouldn't this be great for TV? And that's not what we do. Like, we run all 3 channels, so if it's a government thing, then we'll produce it because we run the government channel. Yeah. If it's a community event, then it's really on the members to learn be a member. Sure. You got to be a member, and then we help them produce the content and whatnot. So similar on your side of the bench, people always say, hey, don't you guys have a photo of this? Can you get it for us? Go ahead. I'll let you explain.
Well, I mean, that's what our research library is all about. It's that content provision, but it's not something that is underwritten by any government grant or agency or endowment. Right. I think I've been doing this type of work for a long time. This is my 27th year in the museum field, and my 14th year as an executive director. And a lot of old perceptions about what organizations like ours and other community not-for-profits are still exist. The idea that yes, this is funded by government support, therefore everything should be free. Well, okay, the Smithsonian is free because that's funded by taxpayer dollars, Right. No. And I think what's also lost in the benefits that charitable organizations like ours bring to the community is the fact that we have to pay the bills too.
Right.
I mean,
and the bigger problem is, people call us for content and hey, go cover this. Well, we're only 4 employees.
Yeah.
There's a million, there's 10 events going on in a day. Even if that's what we did, we could only cover 1 or 2 of them because somebody had to stay back at the range to keep the doors open. Yeah. You have a couple 100,000 pieces of content in your archives in 2 people?
I'm one of 2 full-time staffers, and our educator is 10 hours a week. Everybody else involved, everybody is a volunteer.
Right.
And
your day-to-day responsibility is not technically day-to-day. You're a manager. You're procuring funding. Absolutely. So
I get one thing our organization is not lacking on is ideas. I have ideas and suggestions and thoughts come over my desk, all the time. And what needs to be recognized and what, we want to do, all of these great things for the community, but we have to keep it managed within our capabilities.
But and then as a member organization, people sign up as a member for your organization, they can have access to those records and they can do the research.
Free access to the library.
So our 2 organizations are very akin in very in very similar situations.
Anybody that has worked for a small cultural not-for-profit or a small 501c3 can appreciate it. It's very hard to be a subject matter expert or a specialist when you have to be a jack of all trades and wear 24 different hats on any given day. I've described my job as in the morning I might be meeting with the mayor in my previous place with the mayor, and in the afternoon I may be scrubbing the toilets. That's just part and parcel of what it is to work for a small cultural not-for-profit.
I can't remember if you guys did it at the new building for you guys, but when we created this space here at 70 Main Street, we actually installed a shower in the bathroom because of that. Because I could be meeting with the town manager, at 10 a.m., but I could be at the, in the lighting grid for the 3 hours before that, and it's not, it's not clean work. So there are reasons that we may have to just make quick changes.
Well, it's exciting too, though, and it's the variety that has kept me involved in this type of work for again the last quarter century.
I do hear there are jobs out there where you do like one responsibility all day long.
No idea what that's like.
I don't think I've ever been in a job like that.
Me neither.
So So Karen Klein is here, and so if you just want to make sure that mic's right in front of you, she is one of the former poet laureates in town, and one of the things we're doing. So welcome.
Thank you.
I want to bring you on the mic just so that you can be part of the conversation too, and we'll transition because your time is valuable, Brian. Too also, but we're talking about the 375th commemoration of the establishment of the Endovers. And so Brian, just give us a little bit of snapshot. I know you're just here in town in the last year and a half, as many of my guests today have been.
Sure.
But you are the Historical Society, and tell me
Well, the European immigrants started coming to the Massachusetts Bay Colony, of course, in the 1620s and 1630s, and of course, the coast was settled first, and then gradually, before it became a flood, there was this incursion into the western frontier, and really, what is North Andover today was that first western frontier. So people had started coming here, establishing plots for agriculture, and really starting to settle what became the town we know today in the 1630s. There is some debate as to exactly how to define the official incorporation date of the town, and you can get way into the weeds with that. But long story short, the town's incorporation date has been established at 1646. So that makes this year the 375th anniversary of the establishment of the Andovers. As you mentioned, there was not a North Andover per se until 1855.
I feel like I should have had you on first, because I've been on the hook going, how do I explain this?
Yeah.
Because we all know the stories, but now I'm saying it on a document here with recording. So
there's no easy way to just no.
No, and there's still discussion about it.
Oh yeah.
April 7th, 1855.
1855.
Yep,
Yeah.
when we broke.
So the official incorporation date for North Andover was April of 1855.
Right.
But our true lineage dates back to the 1640s.
And
We're the original Andover.
And we were,
Yes,
right.
Yes,
right.
don't forget that.
Yep.
Right near the common, and where the Historical Society is now is where the original settlements were. So it's a fascinating story, and it's certainly not cut and dried, and it's not anything, if you ask somebody from Andover, or what the North Andover residents might want to call South Andover, they would be able to tell you the story from their perspective about the way that the North and South Parish developed, and what eventually led to the split. Interesting story. There's never going to be a final settlement of it's just always going to be an element of the town, and it's an interesting piece of our identity. It's something that we'll be able to talk about. Because it's perpetual. It's just not going to it'll never be settled.
It's also a reason to talk about the history.
Yep.
Precisely.
It is, and for kids, that's really one thing you want to do is have them have interesting things that maybe they never even realized.
Yeah.
They wouldn't, because they're just here because they're here.
Sure.
But finding out what the value is of community and how you describe community. It's different if you have two different towns that were once one, and then we gave part of Lawrence their land in 1847. The south part of Lawrence is from Andover / North Andover.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways this happened.
I'm a pretty simple person, and to me it's like east and west. I don't know why it's north and south, because they're next to each other, but that's just me.
Yep.
So you're welcome to stay, Bri, but you've shared your time with us.
Yep.
I appreciate it. I encourage you, and that's what I was trying to tell you, is you should get your character done.
It's upstairs.
Oh, you already did it.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
So if you have the time, sit, it takes 8 minutes, 8 minutes, and then we're going to make a photocopy, and then we'll do a big collage upstairs and whatnot, and you can take yours home. If you have the time, please do.
All right.
Kathleen Keenan and Melissa from the town hall have already been there, and they're upstairs. They're
All
great.
right.
Yeah.
I'll have to do that.
And I do have to say, so Bri, you and I have been spending a lot of time together over the last couple months, maybe in passing, but kind of grinding things out. This is the first time I've had you on a microphone, and I
Mhm.
might have some volunteering for you to do because you get some nice pipes there. I think I think we're gonna be doing some voiceover work in the near future for North Andover. You'll be the voice of North Andover in no time.
There you go.
Excellent.
Well, Brian, you know where to find me. So
Oh, yeah.
that'd be
Excellent,
great.
excellent.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you
take
so
care.
much.
All
I
right.
really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. I
All right.
appreciate your time.
All right.
Karen
See you.
Klein. Karen
Oh.
Klein. So I need you to be right up on that mic,
Oh.
like lift it up so it's
Oh.
you can sit as comfortable as you want. Just bring the
Okay.
mic right in front of you. So,
You come tomorrow?
Yeah.
Good, great.
so Karen Klein, poet.
I've never usually had a problem with my voice not being loud enough.
Yeah, it's the way these mics are designed. This is real radio mics here. These,
Yep.
This is the real deal. I'm never on the side of the microphone. I'm
Mhm.
always behind the scenes.
I know.
And I'm getting better as the day goes by. So,
Right.
but to have you here, there are two people that stick out in my job and my time here at North Andover CAM since 2018. You are probably one of the first 2 or 3 people I met,
Mm-hmm.
and really my first customer, I'd say, member that got involved, and we did Valley of the Poets, or
Right.
no, it
wasn't even
was
that.
Barkfest,
Way,
and yeah,
way
right,
before that,
right.
Barkfest, and yeah.
So, and the other person owned my other first customer was the owner of a driving school, but that's okay. So,
Well,
where-
I'm driving people too.
and you're still here. So, no, that's fantastic, and it's been awesome. It's been,
We've had so many different iterations over the years.
Yep.
Just every time I call you and say, Brian, I have an idea, you do not hang up.
Does anybody hang up on you? I hope not.
No,
I hope
no,
not.
no. But some of them say, oh, okay. And then they just wait to hear.
Yeah, no,
And sometimes you know that some of these ideas don't work right away.
no, but they come.
They come back.
Yep.
And when Brian was here just a minute ago, I'm thinking, how can we get the tour bus, the trolley, the Valley of the Poets trolley tour? It would be parked in the side of the museum, at the Historical Society.
Yep.
So it would advertise both the poetry of the valley and the fact that, we have poets in the valley.
Correct.
And I want to do a Valley of the Poets tour, trolley tour. That's one of the things, but that's going to be in the future because you need funding.
How fun.
But Mike Smolek and I have been talking about it, and also Mike Smolek and I have been talking about a statue for Anne Bradstreet, because now I've got 2 Annes. Until yesterday, I really didn't find out how much value, the treasure she was. Annie L. Sargent. The school is named for Annie L. Sargent. And I never realized that she was a teacher in North Andover for 54 years.
Wow.
That's
There's
what everybody
there's a little
says.
tidbit for our 375 right there. There you go.
Wow. I mean, I never realized that. I knew this is the anniversary, again, another anniversary year, of her 100th as the principal of the Johnson High School. And because she was she was the first, I think, in the state of Massachusetts as a female to be
Wow.
a principal.
Wow.
And then after she retired, she became a member of the school committee, first female to do that.
Oh, wow.
And it was only the year after women had the right to vote that she became the principal of that high school.
Huh.
There's so many things that we don't realize now how women were held down.
Yeah.
We have to hear it from the past.
Right.
We really
right.
do.
And that's why history is so important.
Yes.
I mean, absolutely.
Yes.
So we're out front of 70 Main Street here in front of the North Andover CAM Studios.
Come on down.
We are, we go. I say this to everybody that sits down, but we typically, as the TV station and community television, we're out there trying to help other organizations get exposure, get their interests out there, enlighten people, and
Excite people.
and we're the last ones to kind of point our fingers back toward ourselves and
Right,
say,
right.
hey, look at all the stuff we do. So here we are at Community Media Day. It's
Mhm.
every October 20th. The town has recognized it by the Board of the Select Board now.
Okay.
and they did that a couple years ago, and we're trying to make it bigger and bigger each year. So here we
Wonderful.
are,
Yeah, this is
podcasting
wonderful.
out front of,
in your beautiful new building.
and that's the sound you hear in the background is Main Street, as people go home from work.
Mm-hmm.
So being one of our oldest, or at least my oldest, longest member, not oldest member,
Right now.
longest member. Tell me a little bit about community television from your perspective.
Oh my golly, I am so. Every time I think of some of the programs we've done together, Rena Espaillat, when we had the ability to have her, virtual to me is not that bad. Virtual means we can have a poetry program, and people call in from Wales or China.
Oh, it opens the door.
It
does open the door.
And it's so exciting. First of all, so many human beings know how to speak English, and I have absolutely no clue how to speak their languages. We're so self-centered here.
And you did that show during the pandemic, right?
Yeah. I've done quite a few shows.
So you
during
came
the
into the
pandemic.
studio.
Yes, I came in, and then she was in her home.
on
Her
Zoom.
her home, I think.
On
In
a video call. Yeah.
Newburyport.
Excellent.
Yes, and she's one. I've been pushing the Library of Congress for about 5 to 6 years. Rena Espaillat should be our National Poet Laureate. And he keeps saying to me, Mr. Casey keeps saying, she's on the short list. And I keep thinking to myself, how long is this short list? She needs to be done. I want it to be done soon. She took 7 years to translate all of, well, not all, but 40 of the Robert Frost poems into Spanish.
Wow.
And she took 7 years because she's such a perfectionist. She had to get the tone and the meaning just right between her and Mark Shore, who was the executive director of the Robert Frost Foundation, which is right next door in Lawrence. They worked, in unison to get that done, and it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And I have to explain the Valley of the Poets. A lot of people don't know that.
That was a series you did here at North
it's
CAM, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also what I want. We live here.
Mhm.
We live in the Valley of the Poets.
Mhm.
And it's North Andover for Ann Bradstreet. Haverhill is John Greenleaf Whittier. Andover is Harriet Beecher Stowe. And Lawrence is, of course, Robert Frost. Those are, the two in the middle are not known. Well, John Greenleaf Whittier is known for poetry, but Harriet Beecher Stowe wasn't. She was more the Uncle Tom's Cabin and abolition just in general. But she was also a poet, and there are at least 57 poems that a professor at Salem State University is putting into publication, I believe. So that will mean that all 4 of them are definitely published poets, and we need to use their power to be able to explain to people every single town needs a poet laureate.
So how has community television helped you? How
You have publicity,
Yeah.
publicity, absolute publicity.
So
And then bringing people on who didn't think they could even speak in public.
right.
They got used to presenting because it's such a very warm environment here.
Right. And
You don't scare anybody.
I try.
Yeah.
I mean, other people have come on and talked about that too. Television production or media production. When you look at it for the first time, it looks so intimidating.
Daunting.
Right, but it's a lot of simple things.
Right.
It's just baby
You
steps.
just have to put them together.
Yep. And you don't have to have it perfect, especially in community television.
Mhm.
We're not accountable to advertisers and all
No.
that stuff. It's really get your content out there. That's the most important part first,
Yeah.
and then we can refine it as we go.
Right.
So list off some of the
I'm
programs
thinking of
you've
the
done.
Barkfest.
Barkfest.
When you said it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
How many dogs do we have in the
Oh.
studio?
About 9, and they were all large.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
was not one small dog here. No,
Yeah, and
there
I'm-
was a pug. No, there was one pug.
And years later,
Oh.
I've been here since 2008, and so that's
We did it in 2009, March, right before right before St. Patrick's Day.
So over 10 years here, and I still don't know if I know the relation between the dogs and the poetry, but I'm okay with it.
Okay, let me explain to you. It's not just, I don't just do the poetry
Yep.
all the time. because you have to find things that are interesting for children who don't want to do
That's
poetry.
right. That's right.
You sneak up on them.
Yep.
So what the promise was with the dogs was, you bring your animal in. There are many different ways to do it. This is one way. You bring your animal in, and the veterinarian, Dr. Martha Lindsay, who has her business right across the street from here, right down on Hodges. She was the person that you could question, and that could be either you as the young person who owns the dog or the parents. And then there were 60 books from the Stevens Memorial Library that I brought with us and set them up behind Dr. Lindsay. So there were all these different books about everything you could own as a pet except a dog or a cat if you couldn't have one because of allergies or because they lived in a small area where they weren't allowing pets to be in, except for a goldfish or a parakeet.
Right.
That's what that was all about.
Wow.
It was giving the kids who... You never really heard that, did you? From
No,
2009.
I'm sure it was explained.
But very, very quickly. And
Yep.
we had to make... But see, this was the thing about bringing the dogs in. My son and daughter-in-law drove me over, and I had our two dogs in the back seat. And Brian asked me when we got to the old center, we were going over to your studio, and he said, Mom, are you sure they're all going to get along? And I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, they'll be fine. Oh, my Lord.
They were happy dogs.
They were all happy dogs.
Yep.
Except the lady across the street from me, Maura Berry and her mom, Sheila, they brought one of the greatest dogs, Rusty. And he was the nicest, calmest dog. I've never seen the dog bad, mean or at all threatening. So I got into the studio, and I walked over to Rusty. He was one of the first dogs I saw, and I said, "Hi, Rusty," and I put my hand out, and he went, "Oh, Brian, this is not going to go well." But it didn't. Nothing happened.
No,
it was
no.
wonderful.
It's fun.
And then we did one for children who were afraid of dogs.
Gotcha.
And that was at the middle school. And we had little people sitting in chairs all in a line out next to the cafeteria, right in that area outside the building. And we had the police dogs, they were the bomb-sniffing Labradors.
Mm-hmm.
Rosie, and I forget her daughter's name, but they had two Labradors. And Officer Brush brought the Labradors, and he had set up some fireworks beforehand in certain places so that the dogs would be able to go and find something. So it ended up, the children, nobody had their feet touching the ground when they sat in the chairs, so their feet were swinging. And here comes Rosie, and he said, "Go hunt for, bombs." So she goes right along the entire line of these children's legs, and they're screaming and laughing hysterically. And there are other children in the background who wouldn't go near the dogs.
Right.
Watching them do that. By the time we were through with the program, some of those children were walking up and petting a pug. There were other dogs there with them. And a pug or a golden retriever, because they saw the other children. Peer consciousness is, peer pressure is sometimes good and not always bad, because children learn from other children that,
Right.
oh, maybe I don't have to fear this.
Right.
And it works.
Yep.
It really did.
Peer examples is one of the best things you can do. Where
Yeah.
I'm heavily involved with scouting and all that stuff. I mean,
Yep.
just seeing
Yep.
The youth lead the youth and just lead by example. I mean,
Yeah, and they
huge.
come to you afraid
Yep.
or shy.
Yep.
And you're not the one who's going to change that.
Right.
The children who are the same age are going to change
Correct.
that. And then I've got one other thing I have to talk about, which is the litter art. And I looked at these. You're doing caricatures here today.
Yep.
You've got to come down, everybody. You should come down and get your caricature done. Mine's up there in the studio. But the litter art program, I got the idea on Johnson Street on February 17th, 1995. I will never forget it. You've seen an acrylic picture frame and maybe a restaurant table. Sometimes they have them for advertising a drink menu or desserts, something like that. I suddenly thought, wait a minute, why couldn't we put the children's art and poetry into acrylic frames like that and put them out in the public?
Right.
Well, it ended up that we now put acrylic frames with one poem and piece of artwork on each side. But then we put under glass top tables is the greatest of all. You don't have to buy a thing. You slide them under, they stay clean,
neat.
they
Yep.
don't move. And then the waitresses love it because the
right.
people
Yep.
don't rush so much to, I need my food.
That's funny.
And they all change their seats before they're done with getting, when the order comes,
Right.
they're not sitting in the same place anymore.
Right.
Because we have to move to see all the poems.
I got you.
And then we did one program of that in Groton, Massachusetts in 1996. I'm sorry, no, 2006. I always get it. 1996 was the year the National Poetry National Poetry Week Day, and National Poetry Day was dedicated, and we did it for April. No, April is the National Poetry Month. I'm sorry, and we did it in Groton, Massachusetts, to honor the 10th anniversary in 2006. We had an entire elementary school. The children's poems and artwork, 588 of them, were in 19 different venues all over the town of Groton. Florist shops and antique stores and Citizens Bank and Bank of America, restaurants, nail salons, they were everywhere. And the children received back over 3,000 comment cards from the public because they were able to tell them, I loved your poem and artwork about flowers or puppies or scuba diving. It didn't matter what the topic was. That was chosen by the child. And they put them out, and we had comment cards right next to all of the exhibits in all these different places. And the people in the town and other relatives would come. They loved them in the restaurants because Aunt Phyllis and Uncle Fred would come and have dinner in the restaurant to be able to see the poem and write a note. And they haven't been in that restaurant before. So the merchants in Groton asked us, could we leave them up for May? We don't want to take them down after April's over. So we said, sure. That's why we had 3,000 comment cards.
Wow. So I just texted my wife, but she doesn't have it at the top of her head. There's a restaurant we visited in New York City. We did a whole New York City tour at the end of the summer, and it's just plastered with everybody's pictures of their dog. It's just their dogs.
Oh my gosh!
And like every inch of the wall space is covered with pugs or puppies or labs or whatever. And
Shih Tzus.
It's just kind of a neat thing that I think you would love.
Oh, do they bring dogs in to the?
There weren't any there when I was there, but maybe at lunch or something.
Yes.
Yeah, but like, it was
and
definitely
especially I would think if they have outdoor dining in the summer.
Right. I think it was like one of those Brooklyn back corner restaurants, whatever. Yeah. So
that's grand.
All right. So bringing things back to 375.
Right.
Now, when I first got here, so I'm learning that I'm becoming more part of the community because I've been here for multiple town managers, multiple fire chiefs, multiple police chiefs. So
couple of historical society directors.
Yep. So Bill Dolan was the former fire chief when I got here.
He's great.
He wasn't a chief. He was the former fire chief.
Mm-hmm.
But he said to me, even if you've been here for a number of years, you're not really from here.
No.
So I'm asking you, are you from here?
No. I'm from Buffalo, New York.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
So you're not from here, but okay.
No.
But I know you've raised your family here.
Yep, 1983 we moved here.
So in
and I don't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to move here.
I think you told me that before.
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to move out of Buffalo.
So-
I thought that was the greatest place in the world.
So,
Now this is the greatest place in the world.
So in the 375 element here of we're doing kind of like a digital time capsule.
Okay.
And it's led by Rosemary Smidio. She's just trying to capture everybody's opinions and memories and whatnot.
Oh.
So in your time period here, I've been asking everybody, what's changed dramatically? What do you miss? What do you love now that it's changed? Are there any gems in town?
Well, what
that
I changed.
Yep.
I never wrote poetry.
Yep.
I never had any interest in poetry. And then I went in 1995 to the program celebrating the addition to the Stevens Memorial Library.
You would think we're in Boston right now.
I
but,
know.
But it's not.
Right.
It's our gentle airport that's right
Yes.
over our head. Now,
Yep.
I grew up in Danvers. I'm sorry to interrupt. So
Yep.
when I moved into this area, I bought a condo at Edgewood across
Okay.
from the 99.
Yeah, yeah.
And now I'm in a neighboring town. But I grew up under Beverly Airport. And
So it didn't bother you.
It had the same traffic patterns.
yep.
I love the sound of the propeller planes. And
Yep.
every occasionally there's a Learjet
plane
that goes
goes
off.
by. Yeah,
It's fine,
yeah.
no big deal. But we're not in Boston. We're right here on 70 Main Street. So gems. Talk about the community. What's the
just
secret here in
Meeting
town?
all the people. Well, people. Bottom line, it's people. It always is. They're warm. They're open. They're curious. Their kids are great. I've worked with their kids since 1988, and I guess it's a combination of the history and the culture that is continuing to be built every single year, every single week, every single day. We're building culture here right now,
Absolutely.
and I don't think people understand that until it's past and you talk about it. But this is what it's about.
Yeah.
And
Oh, absolutely.
seeing people come in who are totally different from each other,
I'm
all different age groups.
going to keep digging. So in
Yep,
town,
Yep.
you and I have an early memory. I have an early memory of you and I that I always remember when we went out and shot the intro of your show. We were at the old cemetery, so that
Oh
that
my
and that
gosh,
was
yes.
fall, and it was a nice
Yes.
picturesque thing. So that's kind of like a
Just
snapshot.
about now. Just about
yeah,
now.
it was a snapshot in my memory. But
Mhm.
a nook, a place that's inspiring
Oh,
for
well,
you
the old burying ground,
to give
obviously.
you where you might go write poetry, something that just
Yep,
inspires
yep.
you.
The old burying ground, any place that you can see Stevens Pond or Lake Wachikowik, any place. And, just, it could be someone's home, even just being able to see someone's home that I know, and they inspire me. People often ask a poet, where do you get your ideas to write? And it's so hard to say anywhere.
Right.
And it also depends. Many poets like to write once a day at least. They force themselves to write a couple of poems a day. I can't do that. I may write 5 or 6 poems one day and then not do it again for a month. It depends on the motivation. What is inspiring me? I can just give you one right now from Andover on Chestnut Street last week. I was driving down Chestnut Street towards St. Augustine's School at the end of the street, and there was a lady walking her golden retriever on the other side of the street. And all I saw was this tail, this waving flag of a gold tail, wagging when he was walking, and there was no reason in God's earth for him to be wagging as he walked. And I just said to her, I asked her, is he always wagging? She said, he's always wagging. When he's sitting down, when he's standing up, and obviously when he's walking. And I said, that's a happy dog. And I would wish that for everybody.
Fine.
I mean, we don't have tails, but we can certainly be happy.
And we can wag them on our own.
Privately.
Um,
Yes.
And any spots growing up with you, raising your family, any memorable spots?
Again, Stevens Pond. We always had to go there every
In the summer?
summer.
In the
Yep,
summer,
every
okay.
summer. We used to have Boston Ski Hill.
Okay, now I used to drive by that, and then there was an archery range
Oh,
there.
there was an archery range after the ski
Yep.
hill was closed, and
Yep.
we worked there. We went to the archery range. We had a good time there, but it was so sad. My older son learned at 3 years of age how to ski in an environment that was not threatening.
Right.
it was just the right size for little ones. And to see that gone now,
So now,
there's so many things that have changed.
so now, you can try.
Oh my gosh, talking about, here she is.
So
Rosemary's here.
So I've gotten my kids skiing. So we've been to in what's the one right here in Haverhill, right? Bradford.
Oh, Haverhill,
Bradford.
Bradford,
So
and
was
then there's also Neshoba.
Yep, and we've
That's
done those.
another one.
So are they bigger, steeper? What was?
They're both bigger than Boston Ski
Boston,
Hill.
okay.
That was definitely a smaller, more intimate run.
Okay.
And it was, kids were there all over the place. And they were there in sleds. Remember Boston Ski Hill? The Boston Ski Hill up on 114?
Yes, it was Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was wonderful for children.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great.
Perfect.
But if you didn't learn to put your brakes on, you would end up.
Oh,
in
yeah, you'd be
114.
ending up out in the road. It's true. You had to learn how to stop.
Give them cause to stop, and they will
Yes,
stop. All right,
yes,
I
you
get
had
it.
to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, my memories, because my memory early on, because I grew up in Danvers, but my early memories of North Andover was coming up 114 and then turning off and going into another direction. So if I was visiting my,
So you just
we're
went
gonna-
through. You
we're-
went through the
so
town.
Rosemary Smedeli's kind of in the wings here.
Yes.
So we typically just get comfortable, and then we'll transition, and then she'll go, and then we'll finish our conversation with you.
we're
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm pretty much done. I got to get
Yep.
going too.
Yep.
But you
so,
just went through the town.
yeah, and then but I have just when I came out here to live here, I was like, I know this intersection because it was a lot of
Yes.
youthful trips
Yes.
that I have
Oh, there was Thompson's, the restaurant.
Thompson's
Don't
restaurant.
forget
Where's
the
tell
Thompson's
me,
restaurant.
Tell me where that was. I don't know.
That was at the where Bertucci's is.
Okay. That
Yes.
seems like a
They have
towny
the
place that
greatest
could be
liver
there. Yeah.
and onions ever in the world. And nobody wanted to have liver and onions in my house because it would smell so much.
Gotcha.
So every time I wanted it, I would go to Thompson's.
I had a knot in Newburyport
Wilson's
that.
Corners. That's called Wilson's Corners.
Okay.
And I was sad to see that go.
And how long ago roughly? I mean,
The 80s.
80s. Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely the 80s.
It does, but it definitely looks like where a towny type of
They would know. That
restaurant
would be a
there.
favorite.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would be a favorite towny restaurant.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is our other CEO taking off? I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so that's I haven't heard that at all today.
Yep.
So that's great.
Thompson's restaurant, and then Jilly's. Now Jilly's was another restaurant right at the exit of 495 onto Mass Avenue, where the bank is. Remember Jilly's, the restaurant?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And that was another one that was really good. They had great pizza.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. So
So I'm just happy to be here. I
No.
really am honored to be with you, and
That's
having you here
fantastic.
too, Rosemary. Great, and I think this is going very well.
No,
I really
think-
see a lot of activity and young people. That's what you're after.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
after encouraging the young people, because this is probably going to be one of the best types of work in the future for
Right.
kids. Something to do with communications over internet or some type of digital service.
Right. No. We've had a lot of fun with kids and
Mhm.
adults and
I
and that's the resource that we provide. Can you hear us, Rosemary?
Yes,
Okay.
I can.
So Rosemary Smedeli's joining us.
Yep.
Connolly Smedeli, I'll go the full distance here.
Well, considering of some of the things that we're talking about, it's nice to have my family's name, Connolly, in there,
Yep.
but I do use that, yeah.
Yep,
Rosemary
yep.
Smedeli.
And so we've had Karen Klein here for the last session here.
Well, can I
and-
tell you, our link together, one of our most important was in this town select board meeting when I came and asked if we could have a poet laureate appointed, and you were there.
And I was all for it. I
Yep.
loved the idea, and it's
Yep.
worked out so wonderfully.
It's just gotten bigger and bigger. Now Mark Gore is our poet laureate right now.
Mhm.
I was poet laureate for 2 sessions of 2 years each, and then I like to say that they really couldn't find anyone accomplished enough, so a husband and wife became the next 2 poets laureate.
That's right.
It was Ken
Oh,
and
yeah.
Nadine
Yeah.
Delano, and they were in for a year, and now Mark's in. He's super.
Funny.
He is absolutely wonderful.
Well, thanks for spending time with me.
Oh,
Like I
I'm
said, she's
so-
when I introduced her, she is one of my first customers when I started at North Andover CAM.
Yep.
So the other was a driving school instructor, but Karen is been here and she's been feeding us ideas.
As I said, I
nonstop.
drive people, but not that way.
Yeah.
But thank
all
you.
good. It's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
good, Karen.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, and I knew you would have history for us, so I appreciate it.
Yes.
I always
I
love talking to
enjoyed
you.
it. Thank you so much. See you later, Rosemary.
Nice
Bye-bye.
to see you, Karen.
Miss Dealey, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. We're very busy.
I'm never on this side of the production. I'm always behind the camera or
Right.
behind the so I've learned. I had Rick Gorman on as my first guest, and I figured if I strategically had him on, because he's been doing a podcast for months now, a year now, and I'm like, oh, he can give me pointers and all that. So I'm here, and a lot of this we tied. So today is Community Media Day, October 20th, and the town commissioned it or did a citation about it a couple years ago. So the town recognizes it, and so we actually, Sarah Brush just told me we're actually the first official 375 event on our calendar that's gone off to today, and I was like, ooh, we're the inaugural event. Okay, great. So I'm glad that you're here, and we can talk a little bit more about the 375. Community Media Day is out there because we're definitely suspect to this. Like we do so much to highlight other organizations. We often don't point the finger back to ourselves, and promote ourselves and let people know we're out there, and we're everywhere, but we don't really get a chance to explain ourselves all the time. So Community Media Day is a day to at least focus me on trying to get some information out there of what we do and how maybe we've impacted the community and stuff like that. So that's why we're out front at 70 Main Street down here, and that's one thing that's changed over the last couple of years is some history is left, but it's a growing end of the Main Street. But welcome.
Thank you, and you've picked a great day for
It's-
a Community Media Day. It's absolutely terrific
Be-
out here.
It's been a great
And
fall.
I think you were not singing your praises enough. You are everywhere. Cable is everywhere, and the townspeople really enjoy it. They learn from it. They figure out what's going on. So it's again, you do a great job, and thank you very much.
In talking with everybody, I'm realizing I've cycled through a lot of people, and so I'm starting to realize I'm a little bit more part of the community. I've been through town managers, I've been through police chiefs, fire chiefs. Now the senior center director has changed over,
Senior Center.
and the historical society director's gone. So Rick was my first guest, and he's been here the whole time.
He's been here for a while.
And
yeah.
and Kathleen and I got here from the library, got here in 2008. So we're kind of akin to being here at the same time.
Okay. Boy,
and-
time's gone by fast.
And I think with the select board, I think you are it.
I'm it. Yeah.
I think everybody else has cycled through.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everybody else, because I think everybody else has kind of come and gone too. So, and that's been different for me. It's kind of neat. So,
But you're great to all of us, and you really keep the town informed and very welcoming and open to new and fresh ideas.
absolutely.
So it's been good, Brian. So I'm really happy to be here on your launch of this.
So we're podcasting now
We're
too.
podcasting, yes.
Yep. So that's a new thing, and I figured we're trying to get more exposure, so we tried to do something out front, here at 70 Main Street. So it's exciting. So your snapshot of community television, real quick, and then we'll get into 375.
Well, I think the most important thing, it's everybody's so busy all the time. So having another venue to get our word out, get happenings out, learn about the community. You just do such an array of different subjects, and it's great. I can't even imagine what it was like before we didn't have this,
Right.
because it's even just notices about some people who want to buy a wreath or a parade, or that was done in the past with the wreath, but this year we're going to do something different. But you know, and people depend on it. And I find the thing that's so funny to me sometimes is how many people literally watch our meetings, not just the Board of Select, all the meetings. And it's a good way of knowing what's going on in town. And if you like something, it's great. But if you don't like something, you might ask a few questions, and that's what open government is. And it's we are a town meeting form of government. We are, we're the legislative body. The townspeople are the legislative body, so it's great that they know what's going on in their community because they have an opportunity to make a difference, whether it be a town meeting or just getting up and speaking about it. So I love town meeting form of government. I think it's the purest form of government of the people. But it's good when you need to do something different, or it's even that one person who gets up and speaks who could change an entire room around or an entire town meeting around, because people go, gee, I didn't think of that.
Right.
So
I mean, I've learned a lot about local government just in this job by itself. Before this, I was in sales and I was in production, so not very much involved with government per se, and to see, and I've said this in different variations today, but sitting in, one of the things I did first was sit in on all the meetings. How do they work? How do they, because I want to train people properly, when we get the meetings covered, and just seeing the collaboration and the interaction, and the select board has their set of responsibilities and all the other boards have theirs. And I feel for, like zoning and planning, they, people are coming at them, hammering, and they're so well mannered, and they're so like, look, I understand you, that's, I'm here to interpret the law, and I feel you, and they're very compassionate, and they're very engaging, and they give the people their due, but, at the end of the day, that's the planning board, or that, you have to go to them first, and, but they're, it's very engaging, and but in this community, the different groups figure out how to get it done or instruct how to get it done, where in other communities they're like, this is how it gets done, and and they kind of just turn it, or the way they talk to each other in other towns is amazing, and from what I've seen, there's always been a level of respect, and people might not all agree or be on the same page, but it's different in other communities, and it's nice in North Andover.
Thank you. That's great to hear. I mean, we're supposed to be friends and neighbors. We're one community, and government can be, especially these days, with any form of government, whether it be local government right up to national government, it's confusing sometimes, and there's laws and regulations that don't seem to make sense at the first look, but when you study it, you can then understand, okay, that's why this is this way, or whatever. But it gets, and people also too, when they come to speak before a board, any board, they're nervous, and and I've always said to
it can be intimidating.
It can be very intimidating, and you're on TV, and
I mean, I know I've been around you guys nonstop, and then when I had to present, I was like, oh, okay, and it's different. It is
different, and but again, we all should be friends and neighbors, and try to understand where someone's point of view is, and maybe someone will bring something forward. It's like, you make a good point. Maybe we should look into that and look into it, and maybe make some changes, which would be done for the most part at a town meeting. And it is intimidating, especially when the issues deal with people's property rights and their home. And gee, I have this lot, and it's for sale, and it's bigger than all the other lots on the street, but it's not a legal lot anymore, and that's got to be frustrating.
Right.
And I think our boards do a pretty good job of trying to explain what it is and what they could do about it. Sometimes the answer has to be no, but sometimes there are options. So.
And one of the things that thrust us into the kind of the limelight, was the pandemic. I mean, Melissa was on earlier, and just everything that had to hurdle into existence for that, with the meetings and getting, I said, the town was kind enough to invite us into the department head meetings when it was like, how do we keep the government running? And we became the front runners in our industry, of how to make it happen the right way. And North Andover does have we have examples of town meeting, like we are kind of the front runner in a lot of these, visionary type of things or reactionary type of things. How do we get it done? Because I think it's the collaboration between all the different elements. People come together and try and figure it out here, and I think that's great quality. We could not do what we do without the support of the select board.
Aren't you very nice?
So every community is different. We here in North Andover, we run all 3 channels. There are other communities that they only run the access channel or whatnot. So we, and I've explained it a couple times, we get the phone call, hey, can you come cover this? It's like, well, it's not really what we do. There's 3 different elements. We have the government channel, the education channel, and the public channel. So if the public calls, we're here to train them how to do it, and we get it going. But if there's a government thing, we're in charge of the government channel too. So we're gonna, if Melissa wants to do a public address, we go and do it. If there's a big event, we're gonna be there. And being part of the community, we talk about the staff. We couldn't do half the stuff without the staff. I mean, my staff, when they're hired, it's not a 9-to-5 job.
No.
We're here for the community. We're pushing our slogan of we channel community spirit. So we have to be where this community spirit is. That's where we should be. Whether it's the sheep shearing, the 4th of July, ribbon cutting ceremonies, especially during the pandemic. I mean, seeing businesses open during the pandemic, I want to make sure we're there. You know what I mean? And cover it with the news, the journal, and whatnot. But there are different looks of community television stations all across the state, and it's the support of the select board, in the way they allow us to operate, and we're very thankful for that. So I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for all that you do, because you're the facilitator of getting the word out on different things. Like you said, one of my favorite things is when we get a new business that comes before the board, and I'll say to them, this is your time in the sun. Tell us about your business. What are you selling? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great service, especially right now during COVID, where it's a little scary to be opening a new business.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get goods in. I mean, we can go on and on and
Right.
on about all the things why it's a struggle. But by you just giving them 5 minutes in the sun,
Mm-hmm.
and people are watching on TV, it gets the word out, gets a buzz going about their new
Right,
business.
right. And there are ways for businesses to get involved with us, after that. Nonprofits, it's a little bit looser. They can do a ton of call to action. They can do fundraisers through us, whether it's a 501c3 or like a Rotary Club or something like the Lions. You were part of Lions for years.
Yeah.
Businesses can still be involved and still get their recognition, but they just can't do a call to action because Comcast and Verizon, they sell advertising. So we have to, we just have to do underwriting, or they can do a show. Salem 5 is doing a podcast, and they're saying their show is checking in, sponsored by Salem 5. Right?
It's a little play on the words,
Exactly.
checking in.
Exactly.
That's funny.
Exactly.
Perfect. Yeah.
So it's important to get that message out to the businesses too, because we are here for them too. And if they, it's tough when it's a mom and pop because they're there every single hour of the day. How are they going to do more content, out here? So we understand that. But yes, we love people involved. We love businesses involved. I know you have a 6:00 meeting, so I want to jump into 375.
Yeah.
Um,
thank you.
And I'm glad that we got to kick this off, and we're working with Sarah Brush, and the calendars and the website's kind of released now, and we're trying to get more events. Tell us a little bit about 375.
Well, thank you, and you've been really great. I mean, you jumped right in when we were trying to get the message out, and we're again very grateful. The 375th anniversary is about the town's founding, which actually it was sort of set up through.
Yep.
I like to read a few things so I don't get this wrong.
You're not on camera technically. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a feed showing but this is all audio, so you can read right from there.
Well, North Andover is part of Essex County, and the lands to the south of the Merrimack River and Lake Ochicquac and the Shawshene River were set aside by the Massachusetts General Court in 1634.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
For the purpose of creating an inland plantation called Ochicquac Plantation. Only a few of us know how to say that word.
I hear you're still struggling with one of the select members that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's a little bit fun.
She'll get there.
I would tease a new town manager saying, "Could you tell us the name of our lake?" And then everyone, and then they struggle. So it's a little bit of a fun thing. But the land was purchased on May 6th in 1646 by the Reverend John Woodbridge and settled the land for the English, and they paid the chief of the local tribe, the Pennacook tribe, £6 and a few other little things that went along with it, one in particular. And then the land, the plantation was incorporated as Andover as a nod to Andover, England. And so we're really pretty proud of that, because the original settlement was actually, the decision was in 1634, but the original settlement was May 6, 1646. The original settlement right here in North Andover, right near the Lake Ochicquac, and they started their parish. One was the North Parish. Sort of a descendant of that North Parish is our white church, the Unitarian Church at the Old Center. But in 1709, there was a little bit of controversy where some people wanted a South Parish. So this was all called Andover, but it was founded in North Andover. Everybody lived in North Andover. That was part of the original settlement. But they wanted to expand to South Andover. And they did eventually do that in about 1709. So again, we are the original settlement. I'm going to keep saying that because people sometimes don't quite understand. And so the two parishes sort of split and grew. And then it was around, let me see, I need to read this. 1855, the two towns separated. But again, and we became North Andover. They kept the name Andover. But again, I'm going to say it again, we are the original settlement. And so we are really celebrating here in North Andover our 375th. And we've got some fun things going on. We got a little bit of a late start because of COVID. You know, we tried to plan something and then you couldn't. Like, for example, the North Andover Women's Club wanted to hold a gala, and that was going to be for October 1st. But we started kind of raging back a little bit into COVID and the masks, and that's really not a lot of fun. So that's being postponed till May 13th at the Stevens Estate. But in the interim, we just got our banners in, so we will be putting up town banners for the 375th celebration, and people can adopt them. We're running low. There's a lot of interest. And we will be putting small wreaths underneath to kind of highlight the banner with a bow of the same colors as the banner, and that will be up for the holidays. But again, they are selling out really quickly. They're $125, and you can put the name of your business, you could put your family name, you could put it in memory of a dear loved one, or you could just say happy birthday and leave it, and just sort of leave it sort of anonymous. So we're working on that, and that's great fun. And we're hoping to, because we have such a short amount of time and not had the opportunity to really raise funds, again, mainly because of COVID, we're combining some of our celebrations. Like, we're going to be having the Santa Parade and a nod to the 375th. We're combining the resources because it does take quite a bit of money to put on a parade. So I said, let's just combine them. Yep. And
we're jumping on there too. Our Colin Santa show. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna nod to the 375. Yep, absolutely.
And and some of the other events that we're going to be combining will be like sheep shearing and the 4th of July, and again, all a nod to the 375th. But some things that you're thankfully going to be involved in that should be great fun, and I was talking to a few people about it today, is we're looking to do like an online history of the town where guests can come I think we have to encourage them because people are generally a little shy.
Mhm.
But come tell, like it could be your grandparents. Tell us about what life was like in North Andover when you were a child, and bring in pictures and artifacts and just all kinds of fun things to sort of let people know, where we've come from, and so we hope to.
We'll wait for that one.
Right.
Go ahead.
And we hope to incorporate our seniors with that. So I've spoken with the folks at the senior center, and they were very excited and encouraged to do that. So that we hope to have some guest speakers tell us what it was like again when you were a child. Did you go to Johnson High? Did you go to the Center School? Things like that. My dad did that, and he enlisted. This one funny little story that would be sort of just a short little story. He enlisted in the Navy at 17, as many of the young men did, and during World War II he was out on the Pacific, out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. He was assigned to a cruiser, and he's on deck, this 17-year-old young man, and an officer comes up to him and said, "So tell me, sailor, where do you hail from?" And he said, "Oh, sir, you wouldn't know it. It's just a small town." And he said, "Well, what was it? And what is it?" And he said, "North Andover." And it was Mr. Howe. He goes, "Sailor? That's amazing. I'm from Andover." So it's just fun stories like that, or
Right.
that would really be great to share. And again, if you have old pictures, if you have just some memento from years past, we'd like to see if we can get all that or most of that on film.
Yep.
And then the other idea for our seniors too is because originally North Andover was pretty much people from just one area of the world, mainly England, but now North Andover, they're from all over the world. So it would be great fun too, when I spoke to the seniors about this, is maybe getting some of our seniors to share some old family recipes, and we could perhaps put them all online, and maybe, as you and I talked,
Yep.
if they're
We have a cooking set upstairs.
we do, and for an adventurous person, they can actually show you how they make the gawumki or their special Italian sauce or whatever. So we're looking forward to getting the seniors involved in that, and also to getting the kids involved, maybe each of the schools doing a time capsule, things like that. So
Yeah, I think it's exciting, and so part of today we've been, I've had some officials here, I've had some townspeople, some organizations, and we've been asking, so it's 375, anything. What do you have? What do you remember? What's changed? Brian Howard from the Historical Society was here, and they're fully on board with really capturing the history and documenting the like you said, some of these numbers. So one of the other firsts, and since I came here in 2008, was at the time he was former chief Bill Dolan, right? So
Yes.
he was already a former chief at that point, but he instructed to me. He said, you could be here for 30 years, but you're not from here.
oh,
So
yes.
so are we from here? Are you from here?
Well, this is going to
You don't have to live on his rules. I'm just saying.
No, well, I will tell you, it's kind of it's really just for fun. It's
Yep.
a joke, but in order to be called a townie, you have to have 3 generations up at Ridgewood.
That's something
That's
along
what
what
it
he
is,
was saying. Yes.
I qualify.
There you go. So tell
On
us.
both sides of my family.
Sure.
Yeah.
So tell us. So you've been here. You've raised a family here. What's changed? What do you remember that you missed, or that's gone and you missed, or something that's changed and it's evolved? Or tell us a little gem about North Andover. What's a favorite spot? Anything?
There's so many favorite spots, but I've often said this as we start marching into summer, that so many of us learned to swim at Stevie's Pond, and my dad learned to swim there, and my mother, and I did, and my kids did, and that was originally set up by the Veterans Organization, and what they the VFW. But this is sort of a fun story. on Stevie's Pond that I learned from my father is that how they made the sandy beach is when the pond is frozen, they get out there and they put, trucks worth of sand, and then when it melts, you now have not the beach, the under the water.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many, and people talk about, ice fishing and the funny little stories about Dizzy Bridge, and when I was in high school, where the Scarlet Knights, one of my classmates literally rode a horse dressed like a knight onto the football field, and the music that the band played was it was fun. It was like the beat of the horse, and it was great. There's so many wonderful things. My mother talked about, and some of our seniors would maybe recall this, who grew up in town, that when World War II was over, everybody was in the streets hugging and kissing, and the bells, you could hear the church bells ringing all over. But something like almost out of a movie, just there's so many of those stories that we want. Please don't wait to be asked. Come forward. This is not only because it's fun, it's for our kids and future generations. This will be like a living document that we can continue to add to.
Absolutely.
And I spoke to a very good friend of mine today, and her family has wonderful collections of old pictures. And one of her brothers actually did a lot of research at the Boston Public Library, where they have pictures of North Andover, and he's brought them forward, and they go on. Some of them are appearing on Facebook under like the town's memories. But we would like to make that more public. So again, anything that you think that would be interested,
Right.
we'll certainly find a spot for it. Or if you have a great idea of something that you would like to do in this celebration, we are open to anything, to hear everything. We still need volunteers. And of course, with anything like this, we also still could use some donations towards
Of course. Yeah. Yep.
having a band in the parades,
Yep.
which it's a little difficult because a lot of the bands aren't functioning again because of COVID. But we're hoping to hire some bands, fireworks, have maybe a small reenactment that we did for our 350th. We're looking into that, and even maybe to have a powwow, which was a nod to our
Native
the earliest settlers before we were here. So, and again, anybody who has a great idea, or some children's programs and things like that.
Yep.
We're still looking for ideas and volunteers.
And again, it's any reason to bring the community together.
Exactly.
Especially, post pandemic. So just to clarify, because it can be confusing. So this goes until, right? So we're celebrating until.
Well, that's still under a little bit of discussion, but because it's May 6th.
Right.
But we lost so much time because of the pandemic, and
So there might be like
We
into the
might-
summer or something like that.
yeah. Oh, I think we'll still go into some of the warm weather months, because some of these activities and things are best done in the warm weather.
Sure.
But
Okay.
but anybody who wants to volunteer, please don't be shy. Don't wait to be asked. You can give me a call. My phone number is 508-633-2001, and leave a message. If you've got something that you think we might like, let's talk and see if we can make it happen. We do need some people that, a few more things for the children. Things like the games that people played maybe during the original founding. How they roll those hula hoop looking
Sure.
things and stuff like that.
Yep. Some colonial games. Yep.
Colonial games, colonial garb for maybe people might want to wear in the parade, or it's all about town spirit and celebration, and you know what, we need to celebrate after the COVID. Between the Columbia gas and then coming,
It's been a tough
as
stretch.
I can attest to, for over a year I couldn't get back in my house.
Right.
And then we get in, and then I couldn't get out of my house
Yep.
because of COVID
Yep.
happening.
Yep.
So we all need a time to celebrate, and we've got a great thing to celebrate. We're one of the oldest communities, perhaps in the entire country.
Correct.
Let's think about that.
Yep.
If you go by the whole country, and we have names of people that are descendants of some of the original settlers, And for example, even Barker Farm is the oldest continuous operating farm in the Massachusetts, and some would argue in the entire country.
Right.
And that's
fantastic.
right about where the original settlement took place.
So, so a little sneak preview for you. We've been working with the Historical Society a lot with the new Rogers Center, and
Yeah,
we put the
it's
movie
great.
theater
Oh,
in.
it's
Have
great.
you seen the movie
Oh
theater?
yeah.
So a lot of excitement there. But in talking with Brian, and I'm pretty sure it was Brian where I got this from. I think what the Rotary. I'm current president of the Rotary Club,
Oh, good
and
for you.
and we're gonna try and start an annual event in conjunction with that center, because they're looking for community events to go in there. I think we're going to start an ongoing deliberation of the separation of the two towns, and from colonial perspective and arguments and reasons why, and like whether it's court trials or board debates or something like that, or protests out in front of the Historical Society. I think we're going to try and make it an annual event, and I thought you might appreciate that.
I think that's great. It should be interesting.
Yes. So I don't know who we can get for the opposing side. We'll probably have to talk to the other town and see if the other Rotary Club or something wanted to do something. Yeah, be kind of fun.
It will be kind of fun. So a modern day trial about an event that happened back in 1709.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I quoted or something like that.
So I think that'll be exciting. I think again,
It's
a
something
little
fun.
Americana. Just exactly. Just fun.
Just fun, and again, it's great for the kids. They learn about government and
Right.
court systems.
Yep.
And
Yep. It'll be fun.
it will be fun.
So I know you have a meeting to get to, but if you have time, it only takes 8 minutes. Or there's a color one. Get your character done. We're giving away characters. And then you can make a copy, and we'll put a collage together upstairs and
Okay,
whatnot. So
all right. That
if you
sounds like fun too.
if you haven't been upstairs, head upstairs, and there's some bites to eat or something like that. So,
Thank you
thank you. Is there anything else we need to cover before you go?
Nope, just everybody, let's celebrate. Happy birthday, North Andover. Happy birthday to us. We've got a great town here, great people, and
Fantastic.
it's all going to be fun. And jump in if you've got some ideas. You want to even do, I thought, but I don't know if it's too difficult to do, is have a running race from our old center to Andover and back. So join the two towns together in kind of a fun run.
Yep.
But I've been warned that it's a little bit more work than it sounds like.
Crossing state highways. Yeah.
That could be didn't even think of that. Thanks, Brian. But if anyone has a fun idea and wants to jump in and volunteer, you are so welcome to be part of the group. And let's
Fantastic.
let's just celebrate and have some fun.
Awesome. Rosemary Connolly Smidili.
Thank you.
From here.
Yes,
From here.
On
Thank you
my
for-
dad's side and my mother's side. We go back a little ways.
Excellent. Thank you for spending time with us, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.